Freddie Freeman delivered the big blow today. He's had a little bit of a weird season, but it's not a bad season by any means. And Yoshinobu Yamamoto threw 100 pitches, and everything still looks good. So let's get into it. Let's get locked on Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, Dodger fans. Welcome to Locked On Dodgers. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one local sports daily podcast network. Locked On, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB in all lowercase for a first deposit match up to $100. This is the daily podcast covering the Los Angeles Dodgers, bringing you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue. You can find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. And if you want to become an everydayer, that's someone that listens or watches every day, that's really all you have to do. You make it easy on yourself by subscribing and get notified when we go live or when episodes are ready for you to listen to. A lot more lives in the last couple weeks, and we are enjoying them. Jeff and I are both lifelong Dodger fans. If this is your first time listening or watching, welcome. We have covered the team for a long time now. We have been doing this podcast for a long time now, and we've watched a lot of Dodger games in our lives, including last night's game. So we're not quite insiders, but we're here to bring you some smart and hopefully rational thoughts about the Dodgers as we get into it. And as we've done a lot in the last month, we're talking after a Dodger win. The Dodgers beat the Diamondbacks in game one of the series. Yoshinobu Yamamoto gets the win. Freddie Freeman had the big home run. We'll talk about him in the next segment. But Jeff, welcome back. I'm glad your voice will hopefully holds up for this round.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I've been trying to stay quiet all day so that I could handle 30 minutes tonight. So I will do my best. Appreciate you doing the ad reads today and stuff, so I can just focus on answering questions like Craig's question. How many Grand Slams do the Dodgers have this year? They have 3. Max Muncy, Teoscar Hernandez, and now Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, there you go. Jeff's the numbers guy. But Yoshinobu Yamamoto, that's who we're going to lead off with. He, pitched pretty well for the Dodgers. He went into the 7th inning, didn't finish it. He got to 100 pitches thrown, which, is usually the kind of overall pitch limit for most of these players. And, he's just continued to pitch very well. He had really good outing in terms of some swing and miss. He had 14 swings and misses and a lot of variety on it. He got 5 on the fastball, 4 on the splitter, 2 on a sinker, 2 on a slider, 1 on a curveball. So, as we've talked about with him before, having all those pitches is beneficial, but having all those pitches and then working all on the same night is when you get results like we did last night.
Yeah, and he's thrown in a new pitch the last couple outings. He has a two-seamer or a sinker, I think same thing, just different terminology, but he's throwing one of those now that I think he threw that more tonight than he has in any other game. I think it was just his last start or the one before that he first introduced that. So he's tweaked his slider as the season's gone on at different times. So yeah, he's got the full arsenal, and we've seen, Yu Darvish is pitching great for the Padres right now. And a lot of that is because of all the different pitches that he has. It's definitely a formula that can work for a pitcher.
Yeah, and we talked about this with Walker Buehler when, when you have so many pitches, you can get away with only having a few of them working. And, on those rare nights when most of them are working, you can have something special going on. For Yamamoto, I think, what's been the biggest difference and some of those first innings, those first couple outings, and obviously the first inning of his first game ever, is kind of playing off the fastball and knowing when to locate it, knowing when to throw it, and knowing when to mix it up. And I think they're starting to figure that out in terms of pitch selection and the what's the word I'm thinking about? the way they choose the pitches, I forget what the word is, but when they get into that and when they kind of push forward and mix it up and everything else, I think that's when he's at his best because, the fastball is great when he's placing it on the corners, but the fastball is very straight. And when, if he gets too comfortable throwing that first pitch, that's when he can get hit. And I think he's done a good job the last few outings of mixing that up. And I think the Dodgers are starting to figure out, how to utilize him best.
Yeah, and that's another benefit of mixing in that two-seamer is so you have a fastball that's not straight or not as straight. So a little bit of variety, even at the similar velocity. Yeah, I mean we saw in spring training when he struggled, and then when he struggled in that first game against the Padres in Korea, it really was more about command and pitch selection than about the stuff. The stuff was always good. It was just okay if you're throwing the stuff right down the middle. Big league hitters are going to hit even good stuff when it's right down the middle. And if you are starting every hitter with a fastball, big league hitters are going to hit that. So, we've seen that evolution and it's continued as the season's gone on. And yeah, he continues to be very, very good. This wasn't, his best start of the season, but it was a very good start and continues that trend of, oh yeah, this guy's just a good pitcher now.
Yeah, 8 strikeouts for Yamamoto. Did give up 7 hits, although I believe a couple of them came there in that last inning in the 7th before he came out. So, overall, just a good, solid outing and what we can expect from him at this point and where we've kind of grown our expectations is 6 innings every time out and maybe 1 to 3 runs for the most part. His ERA is down to 3.17. Obviously, you can't take away that first inning he ever had, but if you take that away, it's in the 2s, and that's pretty much all I can ask for, especially in year one, especially after that first outing, and especially with everything that comes with it. And for the Dodgers right now, starting pitching has been really, really good, along with the bullpen. But it all starts with the starting pitching, and we've talked about that before. And everything's kind of working off in this 21-5 stretch they're on right now in terms of the offense picking up the starters and the starters picking up the bullpen and the bullpen holding down the original leads. Got a little dicey there at the end today, but this is kind of how the Dodgers go. You score 6 runs even if it's just in one inning, and even if you only had not till the bottom of the 8th did you put runners on base again and start to threaten again. But we've talked about before, you get 6 runs for the Dodgers, I don't care when you get it, that's enough to win the game. And on the stretch when they've been allowing 4 runs or less pretty much every day, that's definitely worth it.
Yeah, and if you are looking for something to be grumpy about, the Dodgers gave you that, which if you're here from the postcast, Pete was definitely looking for something to be grumpy about. He used words like complacent and stuff. And I never liked that assessment of baseball. I think hitting a baseball is hard, and sometimes you do it really well and score 6 runs an inning, and then sometimes you go 4 or 5 innings and don't do it well. And not because you don't care in those innings or because you got lazy, just because hitting a baseball is hard. And even
Shohei Ohtani and Andy Paez both hit the ball very hard, and it wasn't, laziness. They just hit it right at someone.
Yeah, you hit 114 miles an hour, but right at Christian Walker, you're going to get out,
Yeah. So I see a question here from Roy real quick. Does anyone know why they took Teoscar? I got to imagine just to get him off his feet. I don't remember seeing anything on Twitter or anything from Robert's post game.
Yeah, I would guess not even so much about Teoscar, just let's get Chris Taylor in a game because we're not comfortable starting him very often. And so, okay, we're up by 4 or 5 runs. Let's get Taylor in the game where, and then the fact is he made an error in the field and the DBacks made it a little bit closer. And so, and then he got a hit his only time up. So, things are crazy, but yeah, I think this was 100% about let's get Chris Taylor in a game.
Yeah, although Teoscar and Freddie are the only guys that have played or started every game so far. So, he was due, and Mookie got taken out early the other day, had a day off. Freddie's been taken out early before. It's just a matter of that. But yeah, I mean, Yamamoto was good, continues to be good. And next we're going to talk about Freddie Freeman, who has had an interesting season, depending how you look at it. But last night maybe gets him going and kind of shows that he's still a big guy for the Dodgers. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Sales Navigator. If you're struggling to close deals because B2B selling is tougher than ever, then we want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert, and it helps you target the right buyers and surface key signals such as job changers or which accounts you should prioritize. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with people that matter. And right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That's linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon and get started. I want to thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Remember, we're here for you every Monday through Friday for about 30 minutes. If you want to become an everydayer, all you have to do is listen or watch every day, which can be made easier by subscribing where we get podcasts and on YouTube. And if you already are on YouTube and you want something else to watch after us, you can go to Locked On Sports Today or Locked On Sports Los Angeles. Those are two 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you can't miss analysis, opinions, and everything else you can expect from a Locked On Podcast Network show. You can also find Pete Fox on there doing the Locked On Dodgers postcast after most Dodger games live on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles. Also be in our audio feed if you want to listen to him after that in a different way. So, Jeff, oh, there you go. Not Freddie Freeman. Just rest for Teoscar Hernandez. So there you go. All right. Freddie Freeman had the big hit of the game. He hit a grand slam, part of a multi-hit night for him. And, good to see for him to have that power. He hasn't really had that power so far this season. But I do think overall, Freddie Freeman has gotten a little bit of the short end of the stick in terms of how some fans are perceiving him in terms of him having a bad season when it's just not as great season as the guys around him. And at this point last week, Freddie Freeman was kind of on par with his season last year, but he must have had a really hot week because now those numbers between 50 games last year and 50 games this year are a little bit different, but not bad.
Yeah, it was. Well, he had a couple hot weeks around this time. If you're just going by the calendar, last year on May 9th, he had an 822 OPS last year. But then for the next 10-ish games, 12 games, he batted 458 with a 1414 OPS. So that was kind of what turned him on last year. He was like he had when his OPS was 822, if that's through 37 games, so a little bit earlier in the season, but he had 5 home runs is what he has now. 11 doubles. He currently has 13. 0 triples. He has 1 right now. It was kind of basically the same season that he's having right now, close to where we are last year. And we saw then he was ridiculous from that time to the end of the season. After May 9th last year to the end of the season, he batted, wait for it, 345, 425 on base percentage, 598 slugging percentage. So, I mean, there's nothing about Freddie's, his approach, his appearance, anything that looks like, oh, Freddie got bad all of a sudden. It's a slow start. And I don't know. I didn't pay enough attention to Freddie Freeman in Atlanta to know if he's generally a slow starter or not. But the fact is that Freddie is such a good hitter. He is capable of having one of those 1,400 OPS weeks at any point in time.
Yeah, they did mention, the fact that the 4 RBIs he had on the Grand Slam were equal to 4 RBIs had in the last week, I think, or 10 games, whatever the stat was. So, he has had opportunities. He has not come through certain times, but, I like I said, I think when you look at Shohei Ohtani hitting 350 and Mookie, hitting in the 330, 340s, wherever he's at right now, and you look at Will Smith, having all those big, multi-hit games earlier in the season and, kind of just being steady, and even Teoscar like leading the team in RBI, I think it's very easy to forget that, at the end of the day, Freddie Freeman is still really good. And what has been like, oh man, Freddie's not quite there, is him hitting 298 with an 873 OPS. And yeah, obviously we're used to, Freddie was competing for a batting title and has done that before. And, not that he can't do that again, because he can very easily catch one of those hot streaks that you just mentioned that he did last year and get back to where he was. So I do think Freddie has had, just with the eye test, watching every game, I would have said probably the same thing. Like, oh man, Freddie's having a little bit of a weird down year in a sense. But when you really break it down, it's just normal for him to a certain extent, just looks weaker in comparison.
Yeah. And he's batting 298 with what is it? What's his 873 OPS? Like, this down year for Freddie Freeman is still really good. What's the OPS plus? It's probably MLB.com. That's Baseball Reference doesn't update their stats until later, and MLB.com updates them immediately, but doesn't have OPS plus on here. So I don't know exactly, but yeah, I mean, he's well above average this year. And I got to shout out Steven Nelson. Steven Nelson called the game on radio tonight with Rick Monday, and I listened to that third inning on the radio. I had to go back and watch it later because I was listening on the radio at the time. And when Freddie came up with bases loaded, Steven was talking about over the last, I forget what number of games, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something, said Freddie Freeman is batting like 168 with runners in scoring position. But then Steven said, but that's the past, and we're in the present, and the present right now, the bases are loaded. And then the next pitch, Freddie hit the grand slam. Very good call. And then actually Will Smith was up next. And when it got to 2 strikes, Steven said something about a lot of hitters, when you see 2 strikes, you get worried. But with Will Smith, it's no big deal because, his approach isn't going to change. He's very good with 2 strikes. And Rick Monday said his walk-up song should be, don't worry, be happy. And then right then, Will Smith hit his home run. And Rick Monday said, see, I said, don't worry, be happy. I don't always compliment the Dodgers radio team, but they did a good job tonight, at least in the third inning, the inning I listened to.
Yeah, there you go. And, also in that inning, Kike Hernandez hits the home run to start off and tie this game at that point. So, yeah, all in all, like you said earlier, 6 runs is a good day, whether it's in one inning, whether it's not. I don't think it's a sign of anything else other than, last year, if the Dodgers had scored 6 runs in any inning of an NLDS game and scored 0 runs in the rest of that game, they would have won 2 of those 3 games that they played. So,
yep.
Yeah. So, you take the runs where you can get them.
You never complain about 6 runs in a game.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the rest of the offense, it was a, pretty, not a great night overall hitting wise. Mookie had a hit, Ohtani had a hit, Freddie had the 2, Teoscar had the hit before he came out, Chris Taylor had a hit, and then Kike had the home run, Miguel Rojas had a hit. So, 9 hits overall, just 2 strikeouts. That's always a good sign for the Dodgers when they're not striking out a lot. And then you kind of look at the other side, and they struck out 10 on the other side. So,
and the Dodgers had a bunt single.
Yeah.
At least for now. I'm interested to see if that remains a hit, because a good throw definitely would have got Ohtani. Scorekeepers do generally give benefit of the doubt to a fielder on an infield, or to a hitter on an infield hit, where the assumption is, well, the speed and the hustle force the fielder to make a bad throw. And most of the time I'm more bored with that. This one was pretty borderline because a good throw gets Ohtani pretty easily, and Mantiply didn't really even have to rush. He just made a bad throw. So since Ohtani didn't end up scoring, I don't know that anybody will appeal it. And after the game, unless the official scorer changed it, it usually only gets changed if somebody appeals. And Mantiply is not going to appeal because it didn't affect his ERA. And obviously Ohtani's not going to appeal because he wants the hit. So, but yeah, either way, I don't hate seeing Ohtani bunt for a hit. I would rather see him get it a little bit more down the third baseline because I do think a bunt like that, he's going to be out 80% of the time. And I'd rather have him do things that have a better than 20% chance of success. But it worked this time, even though it didn't actually affect the game.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, the Dodgers carousel in the 24th to 26th man on the roster continues. They picked up another pitcher. They moved some other people around. We're going to get into all that and just kind of how this season is going and how it's going to continue to go for the Dodgers if it keeps going this way. So make sure to keep it locked on Dodgers. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. If you look at tomorrow, the Dodgers game isn't up right now, so you can't. Actually, you can. Freddie Freeman, hitter fantasy score 7.5. I'd go higher on that one. But let's look at the NBA game tomorrow. And I will say that if you want to fade me, which is go against what I say, that might help you out because I'm not always the best at price picks. But they have Jason Tatum at 29.5 points against the Pacers in game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I would hit less on that. And then they have Tyrese Halliburton, 3-pointers made, 3.5. I think he's going to be chucking tomorrow, so I would go more on that. So, boom, you put those two together, and you can already make your price pick and, decide on how much you want to put on that. Or you can pick more picks. They got WNBA, NBA, MLB, NHL, all the other sports going on. They even have esports. So, go check out PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and see what you can put together and see what you can do and see what happens. So make sure to download the PrizePicks app. And if you use the code LOCKEDONMLB in all lowercase, you get a first deposit match up to $100. Anything you put in up to $100, they'll also put in for you. So that's the PrizePicks app, code LOCKEDONMLB, all lowercase, and check it out. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. I want to thank you for being an everydayer. If you are one, that's someone that listens or watches every day. We appreciate you. If you're not someone that listens or watches every day, we're only here for 30 minutes, even faster if you listen on a faster speed. So make sure to check us out, become an everydayer, tell your friends, tell your family, all that type of stuff. And if you want to go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider, you can do so at joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. It's a text-based service where we're texting you. And you can text us back and ask questions or anything like that. We're sending news updates, thoughts, reactions, stuff from Dodger Stadium when I'm there, other things that are going on. And honestly, the last few weeks has been probably the best time to be a Locked On Dodgers insider because there has been a lot of Dodger moves the last few weeks, especially when it comes to pitchers and little trades and acquisitions and all that type of stuff. Anthony Banda, who pitched again on Monday night after pitching the big inning on Sunday, he was part of those moves the other day. The move today was the Dodgers traded for Yohan Ramirez from the Mets. They added him to the active roster, or going to add him to the active. Yeah, they added him to the active roster. And then Eduardo Salazar was designated for assignment to make room for him. And then we also found out that Nabil Crismack got DFA'd and is back to AAA after nobody claimed him. So that's a lot of moves.
Knack was the other move.
Oh yeah,
going back to the minors for the active roster.
So there you go. There's so many moves to keep track of, and Eric Steven, our buddy over there, I know he does a wrap up at the end of the season with every player that played for the Dodgers. So he's gonna have a fun time with that once the season gets over.
Yeah, speaking of Eric, back to something we were just talking about. Here's another tweet from Eric, another quote from Dave Roberts. Asked to rate, Dave Roberts is a very good bunter in his day, asked to rate Shohei's bunt single on a scale of 1 to 10. He said probably a 2, but the result was a 10. And that's about how I feel about it too. So, the roster moves have been fast and furious, and it is just a revolving door, that last roster spot or two. Nat going back to the minors wasn't really a surprise. It was definitely a spot start, even though, he's proven he deserves to be in the big leagues, but that, he's going to have to wait for either them to commit to a 6-man rotation or another injury or both, because, and the thing most likely to get them to commit to a 6-man rotation is Bobby Miller's return, which still doesn't help Landon Knack. But you know what? Him being available to come up and pitch as well as he did the other day in a spot start, it's definitely a luxury, and it's not going unnoticed by the Dodgers or their fans as far as Landon Knack is concerned.
Yeah, and for the most part, most guys that the Dodgers have called up have had positive results, or at least been put in situations where it didn't really matter. if they pitched that well or not. They've been a lot of different things. Like Eliezer Hernandez came up last week, made a spot start. Gave the Dodgers a quality start, and then this game he comes in and he gives us a little bit of a scare because the Diamondbacks got it within 2 after a couple home runs that he allowed. But the Dodgers back in, Daniel Hudson came in and shut the things down in the 9th. So it's one of those things where there's just a lot of different things going on in terms of the roster, and it's all to preserve the arms that are currently holding down the fort in terms of bullpen and the rotation. Like, for Glasnow and Yamamoto and all those guys to not pitch every 5th day, and for guys like Daniel Hudson and Blake Trinan and Grove and Vesia now, who are kind of in that same realm, to not have to throw in games or in situations where it's not high leverage. And all this movement is kind of built for that. And we've seen the Dodgers do it a lot in the last 10 years and since Andrew Friedman's kind of been here. But it's one of those things where when you look at other teams and you look at the depth and everything else, and we just played the Reds, and the Reds are down a lot of half their lineup almost is injured. And when we played the Giants the other day, half their lineup was injured the other day. But you don't feel bad for them because the Dodgers have had that, not so much position player wise as much, but more so pitching wise. Like last year, they were doing a lot more moves and had a lot more pitchers and not as much success until the second half of the season. But it's one of those where this is where the Dodgers live, and they've been living well for the greater part of a decade.
Yeah, and the front office has proven to be pretty good at finding these guys on the margins. It's how they got Evan Phillips. It's how they got, first Dylan Flora, then traded him for Alex Vesia and Cal Hurt. There's a lot of these guys that they pick up. Ryan Brazier last year, Yancy Almonte the year before that. They're really good at finding guys and not being afraid to shuttle guys off if they don't work out too, because nobody has a silver ball, crystal ball. That's the word, not silver ball. I'm just making up terms over here. It's not like they can see the future, but you can look and see, okay, we think this guy has stuff that we can enhance and make him a better pitcher with the stuff he has, whether it is pitch selection or, location or whatever. They between their front office and their coaching staff, they've proven to be pretty good at these things.
Yeah, one thing, actually, I didn't check tonight. Let me see. Anthony Banda, I didn't even throw it tonight. He had thrown, I want to say his cutter was like crazy velocity down from where he threw it last year. He didn't throw very much last year, and obviously this was a one-time thing. So I don't know if the Dodgers showed him that or that's just how he was throwing this year. But there's always little things here and there that we've seen him tweak. I mean, last year was Ryan Brazier learning the cutter and kind of using that and turning his season from being DFA'd and let go to being a key part for the Dodgers and earn himself another contract. And that those times when it does work out for the Dodgers, those second contracts are if those guys are free agents, don't always come with the Dodgers, but those guys can turn their careers around. And that's another one of the things where it happened with Noah Syndergaard last year. Obviously not, that was one of the ones that wasn't a success, but pitchers want to come here and see if they can figure something out that they hadn't figured out before and help the Dodgers win in the meantime and maybe secure their financial future and baseball future and career a little bit. So it's a little bit different when guys are DFA'd and the Dodgers are trading them for cash considerations, but when guys are either let go or free agents or whatever the case, whether it's off season or during season, it makes it, the Dodgers got to be at least one of your top choices if you're a guy like that looking to revitalize something.
Yeah, and the same thing goes for hitters too. It's how Max Muncy and Chris Taylor and Justin Turner and all these guys who came over, whether it was from, Turner was non-tendered, Muncy was just released, Taylor was traded for a washed-up prospect. Can't remember his name. Vince might know who Chris Taylor was traded for. Maybe built a brand about that. But you know what? The Dodgers have been really good over the years of getting the most out of these guys, and it makes people mad. People who hate the Dodgers, they like to focus on the big contracts. And yeah, the Dodgers did hand out some big contracts this offseason, but they also, have built this team. And if you look at their team, they have Freddie Freeman, who was a big free agent, who they didn't sign until the Braves completely lowballed them. Dodgers got kind of a good bargain on Freddie Freeman. And Shohei Ohtani was a big free agent, obviously. And Yamamoto was a big free agent. Everybody else, it's like Glasnow, they traded good prospects for who they had built. Even Mookie Betts, they traded good prospects and then extended him. And then the rest of the team, you look at who they have. They've built this team. Basically, every way you can build a Major League Baseball team, the Dodgers have been very good at it over the last decade or so. And as a Dodger fan, that makes me happy. And yeah, they do have an advantage. They have more money than a lot of teams. But until these teams are spending as much money as they can spend, I'm not going to feel bad for them that they don't have as much to spend as the Dodgers do. The main thing the Dodgers have is ownership that's willing to spend.
Yeah, and the spending isn't just on field and player salaries. It's player development. We've talked to a lot of guys in the mine or that have come through the Dodgers minor league system or been in the Dodgers development system. And, that's what they've talked about. And either from experience of them being in other systems or from talking to, other guys that they know around the league, where it's always kind of preaches one band, one sound type deal where everyone's kind of pushing you, want you to succeed, want you, everything's kind of coming the same way. There's not multiple guys telling you different things and all that type of stuff. And, that's stuff that doesn't end up on counting against luxury tax or anything like that the other teams aren't spending on and the Dodgers are. And it makes a difference. You see, and you see it, other teams, take advantage of it too. Kyle Farmer's been in the league for a while as a shortstop now after coming up as a catcher and infielder for the Dodgers. And, we've seen other guys go on to have success, whether, great success or good success among, other teams in the league. If you look around the league, there's a lot of the Dodgers branches all over. And then, they continue to keep doing it, whether to supplement the team via trade or whether to supplement the team via guys coming up and contributing. So.
Yep. One last question in the chat. Estevan Diaz asked about Miguel Vargas. Is he still on the roster? Did he get sent back down? He is still on the roster. He's only started the one game since coming up. I would guess he'll start one of the next two games against the DBacks to get him in there. Not sure. It is two more right-handers, and so don't know if they would sit Hayward or sit Pages or maybe even give Teoscar his first day off of the season. We'll see, but I assume they're going to try to get Vargas in the game pretty soon.
Yeah, I saw a couple people talking about Vargas on Twitter today, and I think the assumption was he was going to come in and start, and Dave Roberts from the first day said he will get some starts with the string of right-handers that we're going to face. It was realistically going to be maybe a couple of times. Anytime there's a left-handed starter, he's going to start because Jason Hayward will sit. But if it's a right-handed starter, Miguel Vargas isn't one of the main three starters in the outfield. So
yeah.
All right, you got anything else, Jeff?
I don't think so. I guess I made it through with my voice. Hopefully it'll be a little better tomorrow. And maybe by this time next week, Freddie Freeman will be batting 310 and I'll have a good voice again.
Yeah,
well, good by my standards.
Yeah, that's all we can ask for. All right, thank you. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day. Make sure to find us wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure to check out Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Sports Los Angeles, 24/7 streaming channels from the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you the biggest news and stories from around the sports world and the LA sports world. You'll be on the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider at joinsubtext.com/Locked On Dodgers and keep up to date with everything going on with the Dodgers and get our thoughts and reactions on other things, or you can ask us questions. You can find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Jeff is on Twitter at Snydog. I'm at Vincents91. You can DM us for any questions or comments. You can also send those via email, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or via voicemail text at 323-863-5625. We're here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car, if you're at home, tell your smart device, play podcasts, Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. Have a good one.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.